Okay, we're now recording. Welcome, everybody, on a still slightly foggy Wednesday in Los Angeles. We're going to give it another few minutes.
So is the answer to the question that this is mainly for SSI and not for SSDI?
Correct. This is focused on SSI. But we will be covering some important information about CalABLE. All right. We're gonna wait till 3:32 to get started. Grab a snack. Our Ed's got quite a drink. Ed's got quite a flask there to keep himself hydrated. Yeah. You're muted, Ed. I think we missed a pearl of wisdom.
I was saying I got to keep ourselves happy.
Okay. I won't ask what's in your flask. But yeah, everybody grab a snack. If it were in person, don't worry, I would be feeding you.
You know, Uber Eats delivers, right?
That's right.
Just saying, you could still feed us.
All right. Thank you all for coming on time. Really appreciate it. We're expecting a few more people, but I think we're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Michelle Wolf, and I am the Executive Director of JLA Special Needs Trust and Services.
Martin, that's it, right?
That's it.
And please mute yourself if you're not speaking. We are joined today by Michael Kojis, who's a past specialist with the Social Security Administration, and Anne Osborne, the CalABLE Program Manager. Please mute if you are not presenting. And with me at JLA Trust is Alexandra, our Manager of Outreach and Communication, and Ben White, our wonderful fellow through AmeriCorps and Vista, all the way from New Jersey. I mean, now he's in California. But anyway, he's from New Jersey. We're happy to have him on the West Coast. And I think before I introduce our speakers, I just want to share with everyone our website. I probably won't have a chance to talk too much about our Pooled Special Needs Trust, which is fine. That's not the main focus. But I invite you to come to our website at jlatrust.org to learn more. It's a way to set aside dollars so you can keep getting your government benefits, but also legally able to supplement them to have a greater quality of life. And we will be holding a separate webinar just on government benefits and what we do on May 13th. So everyone here will get an invite to that webinar on May 13th. All righty, I think I'm gonna go ahead and introduce Michael. He is a specialist for the Social Security Administration's PASS program, which lets individuals with disabilities set aside income and resources to pay for items and services that they need to achieve a specific work goal. And the objective is to help disabled individuals fund their educational or business startup costs, leading to employment that will eventually reduce dependency on SSI or SSDI. Michael also serves as an agency liaison and policy contributor for various Social Security Administration work incentives. So we're so pleased to have you with us, Michael. Why don't you take it away?
Thanks for having me. Great to be on here. And
background, I always like talking about work incentives. Myself and typically with my partner Patrick, we do a lot of talks regarding the various myths and fears and information out there on work incentives for folks who are on disability, be it SSI or SSDI. Today we're going to focus more on the SSI side of things. SSDI would probably double the length of the presentation. Next slide, please. So most people with disabilities want to work, and work incentives allow beneficiaries to test their ability to work and also to gradually become self-supporting. In my 13 years with the agency, I've come across hundreds and thousands, probably by now, of folks who really do want to work. They want to have a better quality of life while on disability benefits, and that quality of life can come from additional earnings, but also the activity of working helps with many factors. It's been proven through research to help with health as well, if done not too strenuously, depending on the individual's disabling conditions. When I was growing up, whenever I was sick from school, I would put on the television and watch a program called Magnum PI. A lot of you might be familiar with it, and I was enamored with this private detective in Hawaii that had a red Porsche, lived in a mansion, had access to a helicopter, and I thought the key to happiness was to have all of that. Well, up until this day, I haven't gotten any of those things. No mansion, no Ferrari, no helicopter, and I've learned through the years and through my work and personal experience that, and also research has shown this, that the key to happiness is not any of those things. The key to happiness is having some sense of purpose in life. And for a lot of folks, that purpose manifests itself through their work. A lot of people identify themselves by what they do. Oh, I'm a welder, or I'm a teacher, or I'm a drug and alcohol counselor, or what have you. And a lot of people garner that sense of happiness and that purpose through what they do vocationally. So I enjoy helping individuals to make that jump or to return to work, for some individuals to take advantage of all the benefits that work has to offer, more so than just the pay stub. Next slide, please.
Tina has asked, will you be hosting any more SSDI focused events in the future?
I could present on that. But,
we don't currently have anything set. No, but maybe.
Good question. We do have a presentation regarding that. It's definitely involved. So again, due to time constraints, we're just focusing on SSI today. But there are a whole host of work incentives and safety nets for SSDI as well. Fears, myths, and truths. To click there. Fear, if I start working, my benefits will stop or my income will go down. That's the biggest fear that most people think, okay, why work? But in truth, the work incentives that SSA provides allow for cash benefits to continue for a period of time, and typically a long period of time. And that includes more than just cash benefits, but health insurance. And then the next one is a myth. I can make more money not working. A lot of people on SSI think, well, if I work, they're going to take part of my SSI anyway, so why bother? Well, because of various exclusions, someone will always earn more money by working and being on SSI than just being on SSI alone. It'll increase their overall income. And the next fear here, I can't work because I'll lose my health insurance. Well, the truth is that Medi-Cal can continue even if the claimant is working. I'm going to go into detail on that. That should very rarely, if ever, be a fear of an individual who's on SSI and wants to work. And I'll illustrate why. You'll see that it's obvious that should not be a fear for an individual at all. Next slide, please. Myth, I can't get a good paying job. Okay, I want to work, but how do I go from not working, being on disability, and then suddenly in there, it's a certain mindset. A lot of times it's gradual, but how do I go to getting a good paying job? Well, there's various programs that Social Security has to make that happen. First off, there's the PASS program, which I'm going to go into a little bit later, that can help fund for individuals' education to get them up to a level where they're more employable or more attractive to employers. Or if they want to start with self-employment, PASS can help with that as well. The next item is the Ticket to Work program, and this is a free program as well. All of these are free. That links folks on disability with employment networks, which include employers that are used to and have a long track record of employing individuals who are on disability. And sometimes that's half the battle. If it's general employment, even though by law there should be employment supports for the individual, that does not always happen. But with employers with the Ticket to Work program, it's fairly built in the support system for individuals who are working but doing so despite disabling conditions. And there's also the California Department of Rehab, VOC Rehabilitation, another free service, and for individuals who are looking to figure out what color their rainbow or their parachute is. I know that's a famous book back in the day, or what type of career would work for them given their interests, their limitations, their level of education, and the like. And also, say with the PASS program, it has the limitation of there needing to be some other income for the individual besides SSI. But with California Department of Rehab, there doesn't have to be. They have their own pot of money that they run with and work with. And all three of these programs can work in tandem and often do at the same time for the same individual. They're all free. They're not mutually exclusive. We actually prefer to see, within each sector, we prefer to see claimants with all three programs, because it means the more resources they're able to obtain and take advantage of, the more successful they're going to be achieving their work goal. Next slide. Supplemental Security Income, a little rundown of that program and how it differs from other disability programs. It's a federal income supplement program designed to get individuals up to a certain level of income. Next bullet there. It's for folks who are aged, which is age 65 or up, disabled or blind, and you must be a U.S. citizen or qualified alien. If you're a permanent resident, there's different factors that can still make you eligible for the program. Amount of work here in the United States, sometimes via marriage, different factors there. Income resources of the spouse or parents, if the claimant or applicant is under 18, may affect eligibility. So if Tom Hanks were to remarry someone on SSI, that person wouldn't be eligible because of the deemed income from the spouse there. There's no waiting period for SSI, and someone has to be under certain resource limits. Currently it's 2,000. It should have been raised years ago, decades ago probably. And there's certain income limits, but there's a lot of exclusions out there for income as well. There brings with it automatic Medi-Cal eligibility in California. So if someone's on SSI, the basis for their eligibility for Medi-Cal is through their SSI record. So free health insurance as well. And there's a question there, aren't qualified aliens eligible for CAPI instead of SSI? There are folks who are on both, to be honest. And SSI a lot of times can bring with it a higher level of income than just CAPI alone. And there's a lot of folks on, say, food stamps and SSI. It used to be that wasn't the case here in California, but some years ago that got changed to the point where SSI specialists in field offices with Social Security are now taking claims for food stamps as well. So it's an additional level of income for the individual. But that's a good question. SSI work incentives. Here's a list. It's not exhaustive, but it's of the biggies. The earned income exclusion is basically whatever someone earns if in wages, we can lop off $85 of whatever that amount is, and then the resulting balance we divide by 2. So if someone's earning $1,000 in wages and they're on SSI, well, we get down to $915 with the earned income exclusion of $85, and so we're only counting $457.50 of $1,000 against their SSI. So inherently, there's an automatic exclusion. Next one. Impairment-related work expenses. This goes for SSDI as well. If the individual is having to pay out of pocket for things related to their disability such that they're able to work despite their disabling conditions, seeing things like medications, gym memberships even, sometimes transportation, though it gets complicated, copays for therapy, massage, what have you, those can be deductions that can be taken off what we count from the individual's pay stubs. So normally we go by gross pay, but with impairment-related work expenses, we can use those to deduct what we would count of their wages. So it means more SSI for the individual. Blind work expenses. These are IRWEs, IRWEs, but even more so, to the point of being able to not count taxes that are on their pay stubs. Sometimes that can be a big help. Lunches, if they're eating lunch at work or during work hours, that can be deducted from what we count. Air conditioning systems, even if it's not related to their disabling condition, the cost of that we could deduct. There's a whole number of things, and later on in the presentation I'm going to point you to a resource that contains all of these things and different examples. Next one is plan to achieve self-support. I'm going to go into that, but it's essentially financial aid for those individuals who are wanting to acquire more education or to start a business for expenses related to startup costs for that. Next one, not to be confused with PASS, but there's also PES, which is property essential for self-support. And that's an exclusion of pretty much anything that an individual uses for their own business. So it could be a business bank account or land or a brick and mortar shop and tools and equipment that would not count towards the resource limit for SSI, whereas normally it would without this exclusion. So if they're using it for a business, it wouldn't count. The caveat with bank accounts with the PES exclusion is that it has to be exclusively for the business. If they're commingling funds or what have you, it does not count for the exclusion. Next one. Continued Medi-Cal eligibility. Essentially, right now here in California, if someone's earning, say they're on SSI and they start working, then they could get to a point if they're earning over $2,000 or so, where they don't receive any more SSI monetarily, but they have an active SSI record. And we still do reviews on their non-medical criteria for SSI, their living arrangement, resources, and income. And it used to be that limit that would still bring about an active SSI record, even if they're not getting paid due to their wages, was about $36,000. It's jumped about 20 grand more in the last few years, such that someone could still be active in SSI, having continued Medi-Cal eligibility, even if they're not getting an SSI payment, if they're working and earning less than about $56,000 a year here in California. That's a big work incentive in the sense that it's an answer to the question, hey, if I start working, will I lose my Medi-Cal? Chances are they won't. Even if they're earning over that limit, Medi-Cal is its own working disabled program such that it goes up into the $60,000 range that someone can work and earn and still stay tied to Medi-Cal. If you're working and earning over that amount, you're getting your health insurance through your employer. So there's very little risk to working while on SSI that there would be any effect on someone's Medi-Cal eligibility. And then the next one, reinstatement without a new application. If the individual is working and earning more than what they, the limit would be for them to earn just $1 of SSI. Well, if the next month, due to disabling conditions or otherwise, they're no longer working or working at a lower clip, they go right back into pay. It's not a new application. It's just an adjustment based on their pay stubs. So it's a really fluid program. It's very much month to month and very adaptable that way. Next one, student earned income exclusion, especially for individuals that are under 22 and go to school. And school can mean a lot of things. It can be virtually, it can be online, if it's state accredited, and it can very much be things like the TRACE program. I'm not sure if it's up there in LA, but here in San Diego, which is not traditional education. Say it's not traditional college, but it's some vocational rehabilitation, some college type coursework. So it doesn't even have to be a formal institution either. But anyone who's under age 22 going to high school if they're working, going to college and they're working, we can typically exclude most, if not all, of their wages from counting against their SSI. That's a big exclusion for individuals in that age range. It's the only work incentive that's directly targeted to youth. Next one, Section 301 payments. Say if someone, we do these continuing disability reviews often on individuals every 3 to 7 years to find out, are they still disabled? Well, if for some reason they find out an individual's, by Social Security's rule, the individual is no longer disabled, there's a program called Section 301 whereby they continue to receive their payments if they're in a program that has an IEP, individualized education plan, if they're in the PASS program, if they're in a vocational rehabilitation program like DOR, they can still continue to receive their benefits. So that's another work incentive where they wouldn't lose their benefits because they're trying to, within various programs, achieve a work goal. Next slide. SSI working incentive example. Say Tom is on SSI, normally gets $1,040 a month, the regular rate of SSI, assuming he pays for his share of living expenses, and he goes back to work at Petco Park, here where the Padres play. Say he's working and earning $2,660 in gross wages. But he's under age 22 and he's going to school part-time even, he has eligible for a monthly $2,040 student earned income exclusion. As you can see, that student earned income exclusion is massive. That's a big game changer for folks under age 22. And also he has the general and earned income exclusions, the $85 I talked about, such that right now he has countable income with those of $535. So he went from $2,660 down to $535 that would count against his SSI. But wait, there's more. $50 IRWI, impairment-related work expense for medications that he has to pay out of pocket in order to be able to work, bringing his countable income down to $485. And it gets better. $485 now subtracted by, we basically subtract that in half, and so we're down to $242.50 of countable income. He also is blind and or has statutory blindness, and we can deduct whatever is taken out of his pay stub as far as taxes go, anything for his lunches at work to the tune, in this example, of $100 a month. So he's down to $142 of countable income, but he also has a pass. He's in the pass program, and monthly we're paying $42 towards his books. Now, typically a pass program would pay a lot more than that, but for this example, so now he's down to just $100 of countable income out of $2,660 of wages, such that his SSI goes down a whopping $100 down to $940, but he also has this $2,660 worth of monthly wages, such that he's taking home $3,600 in total income. Now, this is an extreme example to tie in as many work incentive examples as possible, but I will say this, there are a heck of a lot more people that aren't aware of work incentives and could use them than there are folks like this example. There's a ton of individuals who have available and approvable impairment-related work expenses, for example, that aren't being developed by the agency, or they don't know to present that to the agency. What happens after 22? Well, the student earned income exclusion wouldn't be available to the individual, but all the other ones would. So, like I said, a lot of these other exclusions could go up, especially the pass. Pass exclusions can be roughly $500 a month. Sometimes it's not unheard of, and even more than that. So you might lose one thing, but you can gain in another area as well. It's a good question.
Michael, I was asking, in this example, does Tom need to apply separately for each one of these exclusions?
Good question. A lot of them are ingrained in the record, like the general and earned income exclusions are, the halving there of the 242 on the right-hand side. But for the pass, yes, they would have to apply for the pass program. It's not a lengthy process. Typically, if we get everything in that we need, including the application, we can fund within a few weeks. For the impairment-related work expenses, the IRWIs and the blind work expenses, those are things that when we do reviews on folks, we should be asking it's in the claims path of questions to ask, but I'll be honest, a lot of our specialists, SSI specialists, don't ask that, and they just click enter. Part of my job is to train them as well, and we're always developing more training materials for that. But what I also like to do whenever I have talks with the public is to encourage them to arm themselves with these types of work incentives and bring them up to their caseworker. And later on, I'm going to introduce the Red Book that can help with that. So that's a good thing you bring up. Student earned income exclusion is automatic, but it has to be coded in the case that they are a student. So if anyone is a student, to make sure that their caseworker knows they are. But as long as they're reporting their wages and we have it coded they're a student, they get that exclusion automatically. That's a great question. It does take, it's just like dealing with the healthcare system. No one's going to be a greater advocate for you than you, So by arming individuals with this information, they can advocate for themselves. And I'm always on call and very often are helping individuals navigate through all these work incentives as well. Pop quiz, always like to include these. I have SSI. If I start working, which is true, A, my SSI will stop no matter what. B, the entire amount of my wages will count against me. C, I will automatically lose my Medi-Cal. Or D, I will earn more income overall, and there are several incentives to help me. Which do you think it is? This one's a softball.
D.
That's right. D as in David. There's a lot of myths out there that we went through, and we've shown that there are a lot of work incentives and safety nets for individuals who are wanting to keep their benefit, be it monetary or their health benefits through SSI as well. Next slide. The PASS program, that I'm a PASS specialist, so this is my bread and butter, the work incentive that I most operate in. stands for Plan to Achieve Self-Support, and it is definitely self-directed. The individuals come to us via their application or just by calling, wanting to know about the program with a specific work goal. And the PASS will only work as motivated as the individual is, or their representative or mom or dad or whoever's helping them along. So it can be a game changer as far as financial aid for education. We can fund all different things, and the following is not an exhaustive list, and we tailor make each plan to the individual and their needs. But we can fund things like, click on the next, we've got books representing tuition and books, laptops we fund like popcorn, monthly internet as well, tools and equipment, even adaptive equipment we can help with. Childcare, a lot of times this can be a big one where individuals are not wanting to go to school or to work because they have childcare expenses. The cost of that is definitely not going down, so it can be a big help. Transportation is huge, especially in our jurisdiction for PASS. I'll use this opportunity to go over that. Up until a few months ago, our jurisdiction was 44 field offices within my partner and I. We're stationed at the San Diego office, but our jurisdiction goes out all of San Diego County, Riverside County, San Bernardino County, Imperial County, the entire state of Arizona, the entire state of Hawaii, all the way out to the Northern Mariana Islands. We have a couple people on PASS in Saipan. And when we trained that field office, we had to call at 1 p.m. on a Wednesday so that they could get our presentation at 7 a.m. on a Tuesday. It's a 17-hour time change. A couple months ago, what changed is the PASS specialist in Anaheim retired. So now Patrick and I, for the time being, we have all of Orange County, all of LA County, all of Kern County up to Bakersfield, and all of Ventura County up to about Santa Barbara. So basically the entirety of, even into Central, but the entirety of Southern California is us. And like I said, we deal with the PASS program, but we're also work incentive liaisons. So I imagine, and we're already doing it, helping counsel individuals on work incentives within our PASS jurisdiction, even if they're not on the PASS plan. The next bullet item, we can also fund for uniforms and for, say, attire for interviews as well. Next bullet, please. The PASS can last up to 4+ years for education, sometimes even longer than that. We've funded individuals from junior college, college, master's degree, even folks getting their PhD we've funded. For self-employment, it's only 18 months. We're not in the business of keeping someone's business afloat for the long term, but we can help out with expenses related to starting their business, be it tools, equipment, advertising, all sorts of different things. And then the applicant must have either SSDI, Social Security Disability Insurance, which is the other disability program, or SSI with some other income. We fund the PASS using someone's record. We exclude income from counting against their SSI benefit, thereby bumping up their benefit. And a lot of times we're maximizing their benefit. So they have to have some other income on their record, be it a part-time job. It doesn't even have to be related to their ultimate work goal, as long as it's legal employment. It could be that they're on SSDI and SSI, and that's a sweet spot, automatic income that we can use. It could be deemed income from a spouse, or if they're under 18, from a parent, meaning income from that individual that affects their record. It could be unemployment insurance, state disability, pension, all different things. And our contact information is down below for the PASS program. I'll also be getting out our fact sheet for the PASS program, which is a one-page synopsis, and it goes over our servicing area, which now includes you guys very much, and all other highlights of the program. And we'd love to have that disseminated, so we are not picky who it gets to. Ticket to Work, we touched on this a little bit. It is, next bullet, please, a voucher to receive rehabilitation and job search services from various employment networks. I talked a little bit about those. It used to be a physical voucher, but now it's just virtual. And it also brings about a buffer against a medical review. Like I said, we do medical reviews every 3 to 7 years, and sometimes we might find out the individual's disability isn't severe enough to continue on benefits. Well, if someone has an active Ticket to Work, which is a free program, we cannot open up a medical review. It's a hedge against that. It's a buffer against the possibility of their benefit being in danger because of an unfavorable review. It's for individuals between the ages of 18 and 64. PASS is for individuals between 15 and there's not a top limit, but once they get around 64, close to retirement age, it gets a little more difficult for the PASS program. List of employers on the Ticket to Ride or Ticket to Work. They said Ticket to Ride. Well, in some ways it could be Ticket to Work program. Well, the list is there on the website, choosework.ssa.gov. And what you can go in and do is they have a search option where you can do a specific search by zip code and find out exactly who the Ticket to Work providers are in your area. Typically it's more than one, but it'll pop right open if you put in your zip code on that website to find out who the employment networks are, who their providers are. But oftentimes folks call Maximus, which is a company chartered by Social Security to run the Ticket to Work program. You just call the toll-free number and they get you set up on the program. There's not a lot to it. It's not a typically lengthy application process. Next slide. Oh yeah, go ahead. We had a question?
Yeah, Aaron asked, does the SSI income get counted for CalFresh?
SSI, typically not. There's rarely anything that counts. I think there is an adjustment though, like if someone's on SSI, the amount that they get might be capped more than say if someone's not on SSI. But there's rarely a program that SSI really adversely counts against. It doesn't count for taxes. When someone's factoring for Section 8 or what have you, it doesn't really factor into adversely the amount of SSI that someone gets. So it tends not to be a huge issue in that regard. Work incentive planning and assistance. Say if an individual needs help with a PASS application, for example, or with varying work incentives. Okay, I started working. How do I report to Social Security? What are the exclusions involved? Well, you could call the Social Security office and we do give out information like that. For PASS, I tend to help out, but I'm also the decision maker on applications, so I can only help out to a fault. So Disability Rights California is the work incentive planning and assistance provider for much of our servicing area, and they do San Diego, Imperial, and Riverside counties. Also, if you go on the same Ticket to Work website, there's a box where you can choose, do I want to search for employment networks, or do I want to search for a work incentive WIPA, a Work Incentive Planning and Assistance Agency. And these are agencies that are trained by Social Security and paid by Social Security to provide this service. So absolutely free to the public. So you can find out who provides that service based on your zip code. And then the last bullet is their contact information. But I think they do work out of LA as well. I'll have to get that information. If I dredge it up as to far the typical WIPA for LA County, I'll include that in my email. We had a question here. If your adult son wants to work but needs support and still in 1822, can they participate in Ticket to Work? Yes, absolutely. And how long do they have to work per shift for Ticket to Work? There's not a lot of limits there. We're not in the business of trying to cap, individuals' capacity to work. If they're able to work and they feel comfortable doing so, well then go for it. So there's not a lot of concern there with how much they can work. That's not really something imposed by Ticket to Work. Sometimes it's the opposite. For continuing in the Ticket to Work program, after a certain length of time, they might have to show earnings over a certain threshold, not necessarily under a threshold. But that brings up a good point, though. Where do they get support if they need help like an aid? If you call the Ticket to Work program, that could help because they do have oftentimes access to job coaches or what we call sheltered workshop situations within an employer circumstance. Also, if they call up their local Department of Rehab, VOC Rehab, sometimes directly, but sometimes indirectly, they help with such services, or they have contacts regarding job coaches or sheltered workshops, which are the usual suspects that provide that type of aid, if not provided by the employer. Some employers do, but a lot of them don't. So there's other services outside the employer that would have to get involved. The going back to the last slide, the Red Book, that's our Bible for work incentives and safety nets with Social Security programs, be it SSI or SSDI. A ton of those IRWs, the impairment-related work expenses, are laid out in the Red Book. What happens to your benefits if you start working? What are the timelines with SSDI? A lot of what I went over today is in the Red Book, and that can be pulled up online at www.ssa.gov/redbook. And I believe there's access on the website where if you want to order it as a member of the public, you can do so for free, if you like a paper copy. So now the slide you've all been waiting for. Thank you guys for going over some important work incentives and trying to dispel various myths that are out there and fears about working while on SSI. To recap, Medi-Cal should be the least, or losing Medi-Cal should be the least of concern, because the limits in order for that to happen are very high, much higher than what we typically see with people going back to work or working while on SSI. And there are just a lot of built-in exclusions and exclusions that that I want folks to be aware of and to apply for. Because like I said, there's a lot more folks that are eligible for these incentives than do apply for them. So talking to you guys today, I feel is a huge part of my job to get the word out. We have these things now. It's a matter of marketing them even more. Let's see, on the chat, any more questions?
Thank you so much. That was a wonderful presentation. I know I learned a lot. And I know some people have asked about closed captioning, so we need to set that up. Unfortunately, we needed to set that up ahead of time, so we can't just push a button and get that going now. But we will we'll try to add that to our next presentation. I think we're going to go ahead and have Anne speak, and then if there's some time at the end, we can have questions for both of our presenters. So next up is Anne Osborne, who's the CalABLE Program Manager. She's been with CalABLE since September 2019 and heads up the Outreach and Education Department. She's worked with the disability community as a volunteer coordinator at the local equine therapeutic riding facility for children with neurological impairments, and she also has a nephew with autism. She is committed to promoting the CalABLE program and knows the impact the program can have on the lives of people with disabilities. And her focus today is about working and cool things you can do with CalABLE if you're working, right? So take it away, Anne.
Well, thank you so much, Michelle. You know, I invited Michael today because he is the expert as far as working with CalABLE, and CalABLE is that support piece as far as, you know, if you need CalABLE to help with some of those qualified disability expenses when you're working, that's something that you can certainly use your CalABLE account for. So what I'm going to start off with first is I looked at my notes, and it's been almost a little over a year since I've been with your group. So I'm going to share a video that just kind of introduces CalABLE. I'm not sure if everyone here knows about CalABLE, so I just kind of want to share this real quick with you, your group. So let me get here.
Money can't buy you happiness. We've all heard that before, right? While that may be true, achieving your dreams often requires learning to manage your finances. Whether your dream is to own your own home, get an education, or just become more independent, saving money is often the first step. I know, talking about managing money can be very intimidating, especially for people with disabilities, who also have to consider the added expenses of living a life with a disability and the limits placed on what we can save if we receive government benefits. Your dreams can come true. It's happening for me. I have a disability, and saving for my goals is now a reality since I opened my CalABLE account. With CalABLE, I am investing some of my money so that it has a chance to grow. I'm saving for an accessible home and to grow my business. Maybe you want or need to save for expenses like moving, or getting a smartphone or a computer. Maybe you want to save for something big, like a vehicle or to purchase a home. Maybe you don't have a lot of money, and that's okay. The first step is to set goals and to create a plan to achieve them. CalABLE is a great tool that can help you get there. Opening a CalABLE account is quick and easy. Once your account is open, you can begin to save regularly, maybe for the first time in your life. A CalABLE account is for those of us who have a disability that began before turning 26, but they can be opened at any age. The sooner it is open, the more time your money has a chance to grow. Earnings in an ABLE account are not counted as income. It's tax-free, and you can use the money whenever you like, as long as you use the money to pay for expenses of living life with a disability. So many times, those of us with disabilities have been held back from reaching our dreams. We are told to limit our earnings and savings to keep any benefits we may need, just to cover our basic living expenses. With the CalABLE account, we don't have to hold back. In fact, you can save up to $100,000 and still be eligible for public benefits, such as housing, food assistance, or health coverage. Best of all, when friends and family contribute to your ABLE account, those contributions won't count against your benefits like crowdfunding apps can. So, if you're like me or have a family member with a disability, and you wish you could save money to help towards expenses today or in the future, join me and thousands of others like me from across the country and open your very own CalABLE account. With the CalABLE savings, I can plan for the future, and so can you.
Call the number on your screen or visit calable.ca.gov to become a CalABLE saver. If you would like to learn more about financial planning, like setting a budget, saving to buy a house, or even understanding your credit score, visit the California State Treasurer's website. The National Disability Institute and ABLE National Resource Center provide information specifically for people with disabilities on the path to saving and investing with CalABLE. Dream, plan, succeed. CalABLE will help you plan for your best possible life.
Okay. Get this up here real quick. Put it back here. So I was going to actually go through the basic CalABLE presentation, Michelle. Is that something you still want me to do?
Yeah, I think we can just maybe quickly go through some of the basics, but I think we really want to focus on, how people can save more money if they're working.
Okay.
We also have a question. Aaron asks, can I have my son's SSI check directly deposit into his CalABLE account if he's under 18?
That is something we are working on. That is something that is allowable through the new regulations. They did allow for people to do that, but we have not deployed that just yet. So that is something that's coming. So let me just kind of go through these slides. And I just want to just take people from the beginning as far as, what CalABLE is. It is a savings and investment program for people with disabilities. And this was passed in 2014 by Congress. And President Obama at the time signed it. And so what this did, it allowed people that have disabilities to have a savings account. And it allows states to create these accounts for individuals. And so CalABLE was created in 2018. And since we've been launched, we now have 7,000 accounts and we have over 70 million in assets under management. As mentioned in the video, if you want to save, you can save up to $100,000, and that's if you want to save and you're receiving benefits. As we know, let me get here. Let's go here. As we know, if you're receiving benefits and you're at that $2,000 resource limit, with CalABLE, you can actually deposit more money into your CalABLE account and it will not affect your benefits. So that is one way you can save as far as working. If you're working, you can put additional money into your CalABLE account. With CalABLE, again, if you had that disability prior to age 26, you would be eligible to open a CalABLE account. If you are receiving SSI or SSDI, you're automatically eligible to open a CalABLE account. If you're not receiving benefits, you can still open your account by what we call self-certification. And that means that you certify under penalty of perjury that you have a disability. And what you would need is a letter from a qualified physician stating that you have that disability. It doesn't have to be the physician that originally diagnosed you. It can be the physician that's actually seeing you. So.
Okay, sorry to interrupt. We have two questions. One from Tom. Yes. Is 100K the total or just deposited? Aaron.
So, okay. Let me just do two more slides here and then I can answer that question because that question's going to come up in the slide. And then is there another question you said?
Yes, by Aaron. Is the 100K included in total earnings or just contributions?
So that would be the total amount as far as deposits and earnings. But these questions are going to be in this presentation. So just let me just go over a few more things here. As far as having an ABLE account, you can only have one ABLE account. You cannot have multiple ABLE accounts. The person that opens the account is the beneficiary. So they are the owner of the account. And if the beneficiary is unable to open an ABLE account, they can have an authorized legal representative open that account on their behalf. And that is currently defined as a parent, legal guardian, conservator, or power of attorney. The new regs expanded this definition to include spouse, sibling, grandparent, and rep payees. We are looking to have these people allowed to open these accounts probably by the end of summer. CalABLE will have this as an option for authorized legal representatives. So let's get to this slide right here. So with CalABLE, you can put in $16,000 per calendar year. That increased from last year, which was $15,000. So that's January through December. The $100,000 is the contribution in earnings. Once you reach that limit, if you want to continue on your SSI benefits, you would not be able to do any additional contributions. If you're not worried about your SSI benefits, you can make contributions up to $529,000. Once you contribute up to $529,000, the account will continue to grow in interest and earnings, but you would not need to make any additional contributions at that point. So if you try to make a contribution above that $16,000 in a calendar year, you would not be able to do that. With that said, we have Able to Work, and that is where the tie-in with SSI comes in. If you are working, you can actually make an additional contribution as long as your employer does not have a retirement plan. So currently that additional level is $12,880 that you can contribute from working. And the way it's tracked is there's actually two buckets. There is your general contribution, which is that $16,000 contribution. And then there's that employer Able to Work contribution, which is at $12,880. So as long as your employer is not, doesn't have a retirement plan that you would be participating in, you could combine both those contributions and you could potentially contribute up to $28,000 in your CalABLE account in a calendar year. Again, let's talk a little bit about qualified disability expenses. The federal government defines it as any expense related to the ABLE account owner as a result of living a life with a disability that helps maintain or improve your health, independence, or quality of life. This is actually directed from the POMS, and the POMS has provided categories of what they would consider qualified disability expenses. There is not a list of everything, but what they have here are categories. And education is definitely one of those things that you would possibly need. If you were working, you may need to get some on-the-job training. You can certainly use your CalABLE account for if you needed a coach or something like that, a job coach. You certainly could use your CalABLE account for that. If there were, if you needed to take classes, you could do that, use your CalABLE account for that. So anything that you would need for work, you certainly can use your CalABLE account for that. I do know that the PASS program does have some of those additional provisions, but if this is outside of those that you wanted, you certainly could use your CalABLE account for that. The one thing that you can't, that you don't want to use your CalABLE account for is what we call a non-qualified disability expense. Because if you do, that would be subject to regular income taxes or a plus a 10% tax penalty on any earnings that you would draw. So an example of a non-qualified disability expense would be a gift. Again, these accounts are for the beneficiary to benefit from using their CalABLE account. So if you purchase a gift for somebody, that person is not going to be, the beneficiary isn't actually benefiting from that gift. Let's go here. With CalABLE, one of the benefits being a CalABLE resident, California resident and a CalABLE account holder is your CalABLE account is protected from any Medi-Cal clawbacks that would occur at the time of your death. But there are a few conditions to this, and that is the deceased needs to be age 55 or older. The individual was a user of comprehensive Medicaid services, such as in-home support or skilled nursing. The individual's estate is required to go into probate, which would be $150,000 or more. And the individual is not survived by a spouse or child under age 21 or a disabled child of any age. So if you had a CalABLE account and you were a California resident, Medi-Cal could not recover unless all these things were active. So if only one of these things was available, Medi-Cal cannot try to recover on your CalABLE account. The other thing I'll mention here is that you can use your CalABLE account for funeral and burial costs. So that is considered a qualified disability expense. Are there any other questions?
Hyman asks, can a house be purchased from CalABLE?
Yes. Yes, and we actually have a few ambassadors that have saved money in their CalABLE account and have used it as part of a down payment on a house. Absolutely. This slide here talks about e-gifting, and this is a nice feature that a CalABLE account holders have, is that they can set up e-gifting. And actually we did have an ambassador who set up an e-gift. He asked people, instead of giving him money for his birthday, to make contributions to his CalABLE account. He did it through the e-gifting portal. He created an event, shared that event with family and friends, and he was able, through their contributions, to get enough money for a down payment. He purchased a mobile home. So you certainly can use your CalABLE account to purchase housing.
There's another.
Sure.
Ivan asks, are the Medi-Cal restrictions on a clawback apply to ABLE account holders from other states?
As a California resident in a CalABLE account, you have that protection. If you were to move to another state, let's just pick a state, let's go to Oklahoma, and you have a CalABLE account, you would not have that protection. It is only for California residents with CalABLE accounts.
So if you're a California resident with for an ABLE from a different state, it doesn't apply?
That's correct. That's correct. Our portfolios are actually managed by Tia Kreff. Tia Kreff is the program administrator. They went through a competitive bid process and they were selected by the CalABLE board. We do have 4 different portfolios. We have an FDIC insured portfolio, and we have 3 target risk investment options. Our portfolios are fee-based, and if you want to transfer in between the portfolios, you can do it twice a year. These are different portfolios. We have a lot of our first-time savers. About 30% of our account holders are in this FDIC insured portfolio, and then the other 70% can make up these other 3 portfolios. As you can see, there's the conservative portfolio, which is 20% stocks, 55% bonds, and a 25% funding agreement. Our moderate portfolio is 50% stocks, 45% bonds, with a 5% funding agreement. And then our aggressive portfolio is 80% stocks and 20% bonds. You can select these options when you sign up for your CalABLE account. There's actually like a menu there, when you get to this screen, and you can select however you would like your money to be invested. If you select these a portfolio and decide you want to change, you can do that twice a year. Let's talk a little bit about fees here. This is a fee schedule. This is if you had $3,000 in your CalABLE account. Everyone is going to be paying that account maintenance fee. It's a $37 annual fee. So you will have $3 taken out of your account every month to pay for the account maintenance fee. If you're an FDIC insured, that's the only fee that you would be paying. If you decide to have investments, there are some additional fees in addition to the account maintenance fee. There's the underlying investment fee, and depending which portfolio you select, that can range from $2.40 to $2.70. There's the state administrative fee, and again, this is based on $3,000, and that fee would be $13.20. So the annual fee, if you were in the investment portfolios based on $3,000, is $52.60 to $52.90. So we say roughly $5 a month. So if that's, if you're going to do some investing, there will be some additional fees. As far as when you're ready to open your CalABLE account, you want to go to calable.ca.gov. I will let you know that this is an online savings and investment program. So you cannot go to your bank and say, I want to open the CalABLE account. You can only do this online. When you do open your account, you would need to have your Social Security number and some other form of identification. Again, because this is online, we do need to verify that it's actually you that's opening the account. There's also a $25 deposit. It just opens your account. And so we do want that, you want to make sure that if you open your account with $25, within 3 to 5 months after you open that account, you deposit another $25 into your CalABLE account, because there is that $37 annual maintenance fee that is charged, monthly of $3. So eventually, if you don't make an additional deposit, your account would close. Right here is our home screen. You can see this, the CalABLE. What I do like to point out on this slide here is if you want more information about CalABLE, you can select any of our drop-down menus. If you're interested in the different types of savings and investment choices, you can select on this item right here, and then it would give you how the rate of returns of all the different funds and what makes up all those different funds. So I do like to let people know that that information is available. Right now, we have a collaboration with the National Disability Institute, and we have what is called Achievable Corner. If you were on this homepage right here, if you scroll down to the bottom, you would see our Achievable Corner, and it's a series of questions and answers. It's got 3 different scenarios that kind of help you make some decisions about opening a CalABLE account. The Treasurer website is a library of resources. On that website, we have our webinar tab. We have been doing webinars since the pandemic, and so we have a lot of special topics that we had on our webinars. We have one on special needs trust. We have one with qualified disability expenses. We've had Michael on a couple of times. We've had Social Security on talking about how Social Security works with CalABLE. So I would encourage people to go onto that website. There's also our ABLE 101, which is it's a lot longer than the presentation I'm giving today, has a lot more details. I'm just kind of hitting some of the highlights. The ABLE National Resource Center here, this is a nice resource if you want to do some comparison shopping. you can actually look at 3 different ABLE programs at a time and look to see what their portfolios or fees. It's a nice tool. So you could put California in, you could put those other states, because we know that everybody is going to select the right ABLE program that works best for them. So we always encourage people to look that over. There's the Disability 101 website here. And the one I really want to encourage people to look at is the PALMS. And I have provided that resource, and Michael's talked about it too. But the PALMS really is the guidance that Social Security uses when it comes to reviewing ABLE accounts and what qualifies and how to use them. So we always like to give people that information because we know sometimes that the offices, as well intended as they are, sometimes they may not know everything. So we always like to give people that information. This is our staff. Dante Allen is our executive director, and I'm Anne Osborne, the program manager, and Matt Harmis is our analyst. We're available to answer any questions you have about the program. And we also do take phone calls as well as emails. If you have any questions opening your account, you get stuck. You want to know if a deposit was deposited. We certainly encourage you to reach out to our call center, and that number there is 833-225-2253. The nice thing with our call center is you're going to talk to one person. You're not going to get transferred. So they are there to help you, and they have a lot of experience. We are on social media. So if you want any of our emails, we ask join one of our email groups here. Next month, we're going to be talking about financial literacy. This is a new webinar for us. So if you would like to attend that, we have the flyer here and the information for you. This is our disclaimer. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen and hopefully not lose my voice. Are there any additional questions?
Thank you, Anne. I think we can really see how a lot of these, the PASS program and some of the other work incentives work really nicely with CalABLE. And then I think we should all also be thinking about the Special Needs Trust, which is for when people aren't able to work or when they get older. People with disabilities, unfortunately, often tend to get some of the chronic conditions of older age at younger ages. So even if people are able to work, and we hope and encourage them to do so, they might have to stop working earlier, and they might not have pensions from their employers based on the kind of work that they've been doing, or if they've been self-employed. So it's nice to have that third-party special needs trust as kind of a backstop when people aren't able to work. And then really you get a very full life plan, starting when people are in high school, college, and then extending all the way through old age. Did all the questions get answered, Van?
No, we have 2 questions.
Okay.
One from Tiara. She says, are these presentations taking place each month?
Well, from JLA Trust, we do them about, 8 or 9 times a year. We do different presentations. Our next one is May 13th, just on government benefits and pooled special needs trusts. Maybe a little bit about conservatorships.
We also have one from Ivan. He asks, can you move funds from one state's ABLE account to CalABLE and close out the other ABLE account?
Yes, you can do that, and that would be considered a rollover. And what I would encourage I would encourage him to do is reach out to our call center, that 833-225-2253 number, and they can actually walk him through the whole process. So it's people do it quite often, and it's just nice to have a little guidance going through the process. And Michelle, I just wanted to add that, with CalABLE and Special Needs Trust, we see these two working together.
Yeah.
It's definitely a partnership. And that's why we've partnered with you, and we've had Special Needs Trust as one of our items. We always get asked questions about Special Needs Trust, so they definitely do work together, just like ABLE and PASS work together. So
Yeah, you can transfer money from any ABLE account to a special needs trust. There's no penalties or fees. I mean, at least from our pool trust, there's no extra additional costs.
right, and we do see that a lot where people will move over that maximum $16,000, and
Right.
a lot of times they'll use it for housing related expenses. So we do see that as one of a positive option for people.
Yeah, there's
with CalABLE
definitely
accounts.
advantages to using your CalABLE account to pay for your housing costs rather than the trust, because
Yeah.
you don't end up with what's called the ISM, the
Mhm.
in-kind services and maintenance penalty, which is 1/3 of the federal share plus $20. So I know I was talking to a family the other day, and they said, that their head was splitting thinking about all this stuff. And, each program does have its own rules and its own paperwork. So, it's a lot. What I tell families, don't take on everything at once, right? Like, what do you need to do first? Like, go open that CalABLE account for $25 online. Then at least you have that done. Then, call up Social Security and see, if some of those programs are going to work for you and your family. And then, every family needs to be sitting with a trust attorney and getting powers of attorney and getting advanced healthcare directives. And in many cases, for people who own a home anywhere in California, you're going to need a living trust to put the house into that living trust so you don't deal with probate down the road. So I know it's a lot, but like I said, if you make a little list and then just do one thing each month, then it becomes a lot more doable.
We
Oh, I
have
wanted to tie in our two presentations a little bit. I didn't mention ABLE as a work incentive, knowing that Anne would be presenting on it, but it very much is in the sense that individuals can contribute almost double what the limit is on a yearly basis if they're working under certain conditions without a 401k into their ABLE account, and then they're able to use that money for things that ordinarily they wouldn't have been able to use without the ABLE account towards certain expenses and not get dinged by SSI. I did not mention before that I'm a trust reviewer for the agency for about 22 different offices, and I can't coach people on trusts, of course, but I can say this, that through my many years of doing it, I've learned some best practices that can help deal with probably the number one issue that families have when they're submitting trusts to the agency, and that is the sheer length of time it takes for a trust decision. Is it countable or not countable for SSI? And we, on our side, we're working on, our angle of it and reducing that time. And obviously things need to improve in that area. But I will say this, for individuals or families who are submitting a trust, be it a pooled trust, a third party, or self-funded, the main things that the agency is looking for is documenting every which way the source of that funding. Where did it come from? If it's from a settlement or an inheritance, we need to see that paper trail. And where did it go? If it went into the trust account, we need to see a copy of that check. Or if it was wired, we need to see the bank statements, be it the trust account associated with that. And also, what's been a focal point lately, besides the source funding, which always is trust account statements from the moment of inception of that account to the present, whenever they're submitting the trust. Oftentimes it's well after the trust was actually established. And that's to find out, kind of develop for any deposits into the trust that might alter the policy that's applied to determining whether the trust is countable or not. If the trust was funded as a third-party trust, but there's been deposits in there from the beneficiary themselves, which rarely happens, but we have to check for that. That can, or vice versa, which more often happens, then that can alter the policy that's applied and obviously lengthen the amount of time taken in reviewing the trust. So I just wanted to add that 2 cents in there.
Oh, that's good. That's good for us to know that you're one of the reviewers. Yeah.
Yeah, it's another the activities that I'm voluntold to do.
I understand. What do they call it? Other activities as needed, right?
Yes, yeah. Other duties as assigned, which they've used quite liberally. Let me tell you.
But there's a good group of professionals in California who really do work together. And what's nice, I want to brag about our state. I really do feel like our state really wants to include people with disabilities in all walks of life, and certainly in employment. And if you can get through the paperwork and the red tape, there's a lot of people who want to help you in that process.
Absolutely. It's especially with trust, it's a matter of documentation. I mean, it appears we're nosy and what have you, but at the same time, folks are applying for needs-based benefits, so we have to. Sure. The actions of a few affect the many. Because people have tried to defraud, well, we got to check everybody, that type of thing.
Yeah, one last question from Hyman. How can we get a copy of this session?
So if you signed up and we have your email, we will be emailing out first a copy of the slides and materials, which will probably be tomorrow morning. And then it'll take us a couple more days to get the video copy of this, like the actual that up and running, but we will email that out to everyone registered as well. So you'll get a copy in a couple of days. And it will also be available on our website later. And
yeah, just to retype, our website is www.jlatrust.org. And I encourage you, there's a lot of great material under Learn and under the Learn section. And we have a very extensive Spanish section, by the way, as well. Anyway, it's just been a pleasure being with all of you. And a lot of you have stuck through the entire time, which is impressive. Woo! Even if you were eating and doing other things, we could see through your video camera. We understand. Everyone's busy, but thank you so much for joining us, and we hope you'll be able to come again to one of our webinars.
Thanks, Michelle.
Thanks for having us.
And thanks, Michael. Thanks, Ben. Thanks, Alexandra. All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.